Alright, gas tank's off the bike. That's easy enough. I'm sure there's 100 videos on how to do that. To get the stacks out, you got to remove the bottom half of the airbox and the top half. So there's all these Phillips head screws around it that you remove. I like to just lay this back like this. See the stacks, they move up and down. When they're together on the long runner, that's your low end power, mid-range power. When it hits a certain RPM, around 13,000 with the stock ECU and stock stacks, they lift up. That's what gives you the burst of top end power that you feel on the bike. 6 4mm head bolts that are down here at the base of the stacks. And loosen them fully. I will let you lift the airbox. Maybe you'll lift this. To remove it fully from the bike, you've got the plug for the servo for the stacks. You'll unplug that. You gotta get this crankcase vent off. It's usually easier with pliers. Crankcase vent hose. There you go. Piece of cake. How you doing? Alright, this will be a video on how to install the velocity stacks for your R6. This is the stock set here. This is what they look like. Move up and down. So when you're on the long setup, you're making mid-range and low-end power. When they lift up, that's where you get your top-end power. Bottoms are really long, tops are really narrow. This is what you're going to look like when your job is complete here, when everything's installed. Much bigger, much shorter lowers. They seat nicely. This is what comes in the kit with a lift arm, lower velocity stacks, upper stacks, and the pillars to mount them to. You'll have to reuse a bunch of parts from your factory set. So that's what we're going to go through here. I'm going to remove these 8mm bolts here to lift the stacks out. Pop this arm up, the lift arm, you're going to pop that up. Pops right out. Now your whole upper assembly comes right out of the airbox. You're going to need to reuse the clips that are in here, all these clips, and you'll need to reuse these rubber boots. This will go. You're going to reuse this whole assembly here as well, and you'll be able to reuse these bolts. You're going to reuse all these bottom bolts here. They're nice because they've got this O-ring, so they're pretty captive when you put them in your new stacks. We'd rather you reuse these than the OEM, than aftermarket bolts with Loctite. It's a little bit nicer. Empty airbox, make sure you clean this thing out. And you could have like some sediment and dirt and shit in here. This one's actually really clean, all things considered, for a part out bike. It's good. Alright. There's also some bushings in here that you're going to need to reuse. These are a pain in the ass to get out. So these will just pop out. It's one clip, and then there's 2 clips in here. Don't lose them. They do go flying. I push them in like this with my nails. Pop right out. Alright, and just like in all our videos, we're always telling you the length of the velocity stacks is what makes the big difference. So with a 2010 and up R6, when they lift up, you're running off the lower stacks, which these are really, really tall. 2010 and up R6s, they make the least top end, least peak horsepower, and it's because of these lowers. These are much, much shorter, as you can see. Real narrow, which doesn't help. That's actually a choke point. You can really see the difference. I do like to use a pick sometimes to help with these, to get these boots off. Sometimes you don't have to, like if the bike's pretty new. This one's really low miles, 1,000 miles, so these actually are real nice and pliable. They pop right off. and you can see that they've got an indentation here and then the sealing area, so that it's pretty obvious how they mount, because the indentation fits here under the arm, so it's difficult to put them on wrong under the new set. Alright, so we want you to reuse these bolts here. You got to get this O-ring off. It's an older bike, they're easy to damage. I've got an O-ring kit here that I steal them out of. I could tell you the size. Yep, already stabbed myself. So you got the O-ring off. It's captive, so you got to pop these tabs out of the way to get the bolt out. Bolt comes out, but there's also a washer in here that's nice to reuse. See that washer? And we're bleeding. So there's 6 of those. Go through and remove all 6. Alright, so these bushings, you got to push these out from the back side here to reuse them. It's kind of a bitch, they're in there pretty tight sometimes. So you could use a screwdriver, you know, small one, and push against the flat part. Be careful not to stab yourself, which I do all the time. These actually came out real nice. You can see they're pretty loose now. So pop these out. If you have like a really small socket, that's really nice. It's nice and blunt, and you don't stab yourself. So now you'll take these and you'll insert them into your posts. Be careful with these because they could fall out. Once you lose them, you're pretty beat. They don't sell these pieces separately, so you'd have to buy an entire set of velocity stacks, OEM, or like a used Airbox or something like that. This stuff's all really new, so it's coming out real easy. It's usually way more difficult. Alright, bushings are in the posts. Now you're going to put together all the rest of the stuff. So your lower stack's here. Bolt goes through with a washer. Sits nice and flat. Put your O-ring on the bottom. Helps keep it captive. This way it can't really come through and fall into your engine. If your O-ring breaks when you remove it, you can replace it pretty easily. Let me just see if this one will work. Washer, bolt. There you go. So that O-ring is 4.4 inside diameter, 2 millimeters. It's this one here. I got some replacement ones on Amazon. I could send you a link if you need it. Just email me. Now you got to build the uppers. So with the uppers, you've got this here, sealing side is on the bottom. The dip needs to go here. Put these on. Stretch them around. Get them on the posts. Make sure it seats nice and flat. nice and flat. There we go. Now you take your clips. And when you have your clips, you'll see there's a groove here. They go on like that. Nice and tight. Good fit. Excellent fit and finish here. Uppers are all set. One more clip goes in the middle at the end there. So you will reuse these arms here. You replace the lift arm. Pops right out. Put your new one in. You can see the shape is different. This allows the stacks to move a greater distance. So when they separate, they actually fully separate. Take your pillar, goes like this. The other one goes like this. So now they're together. Get your airbox, get your lower seated in there. You want them seated nice and flat. Look at the bottom. You see, these are all got the dimples on them for better airflow, kind of like a golf ball. Uppers are also dimpled. Now everything in here sits like this. You'll go on and bolt these in first. You like to put a little bit of Loctite on there. Can't hurt. I'm going to use red just for peace of mind. Just a dab. I like to leave these a little loose at first. That way we'll snug them down fully once everything is aligned in here. This piece points to the middle. See this here? This is the lift arm. You'll pop that into position like that. Doesn't take much. Pop these stacks into the arms. Uppers in. Kind of lift it to align the lower. Like that. Top clip. Flex that out of the way. Get your bottom clipped in. All right, so now everything's installed and together. Everything looks good. I like to kind of just straighten these out, make sure everything looks straight in there. Hold this way, and then we'll tighten these down. You're dealing with 3D printed stuff, so don't put a million pounds of torque on there. But now the stacks are installed in your airbox. What you want to do now is take this, put it on the bike, plug it in, make sure they move up and down when you turn the key on and off. All right, so we're gonna test the install on these stacks out, make sure they look good. You gotta make sure your ECU is plugged in the bike. Mine's out right now, so I'm gonna plug this thing in. This is the servo plug. Plug your servo in. Get your stacks bolted down fully. Alright, stacks are bolted down. What you wanna do is you wanna look through and make sure that they're seated flat and full. Put your fingers into the bore of the throttle body, make sure everything's meeting up nice. You don't want your lower stacks like, you know, half in, half out, wavy. Now that this is all together, everything's completely installed, we'll turn the key on the bike now, and you can see the stacks move down. Take a peek down, fully seated. You know, they're together, you know, almost completely here. You know, nice good fit. That's the best part of these stacks, is the fit is tremendous. We did a lot of work and testing and R&D to get these uppers to the size and diameters and things that we wanted. We worked on some revisions on these pieces here, the way that these clips hold on. And as you can see, the end result is a great product that is definitely going to give you the best power out of any set of stacks that are out there right now. The least amount of compromise. All right, and here's the dyno chart from our part out bike before and after. The bike was dyno tuned with the stock stacks, fully tuned. Then we installed the stacks and retuned it. The bike went from 115 to 120 horsepower peak, picked up 5 peak horsepower. At 14,500 RPMs, it picked up about 7 horsepower. From 11,000 RPMs and above, you're making the same power or way more, which is exactly what the R6 needs when it's on the track. Or, you know, if you're a real ripper and you're really hammering the bike, it's a night and day difference. Now, you do have to tune the bike to get these results with the stacks. You can't just throw them in the bike and go.